In today's weather video, we're going to be talking about the severe weather threat that's going to be happening around the Midwest and East Coast that will be happening tonight and throughout the next couple of days. And in addition, with the possibility of a flash flooding risk. Showing you SPC outlooks and weather prediction center outlooks. I am now probably going to be using WeatherWise now because Pivotal Weather does not update immediately when I go to there, and therefore it makes some of the forecasts that I tell you guys very much inaccurate. Also, if you hear beeping, that's some of the warnings that are going off on this. Hopefully just ignore those. Now, for today, we do have two areas of slight risk. One up here in the Midwest and one down here along the East Coast, specifically Southeast and Mid-Atlantic. And our biggest risk is going to be the wind threat in both slight risk areas in the Midwest over here and as well as the Southeast to Mid-Atlantic, almost kind of like along the I-95 corridor for just a little bit. However, our tornado threat will stay dominant over Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa, as we do have a very, very, I won't say big, but like a little good area of a 5%, especially Madison, La Crosse, Rochester, Minnesota. We could be seeing a 5% chance of a tornado risk. And yesterday, as we saw that 5% chance tornadoes, we had almost a dozen tornadoes that were reported across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And then the hail threat's going to be really low, with really only staying prominent around the southeast region of the country. Two, we do have a slight risk that is in effect for both Dakotas as well as Nebraska and a little bit of western Minnesota. We even do have a little bit of a marginal risk over here in a little bit of the Ohio Valley, Southeast, Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, into a little bit of the Northeast. And in day three, the plains in the Midwest could be experiencing a slight risk of severe weather. Now, for excessive rainfall, we do have a very big slight risk area that runs through Kansas, Kansas City, Topeka, through Omaha, and the Quad Cities, Madison, all the way up into the Great Lakes region. Recently, they did also add a new bit over here into Pennsylvania and Maryland, over here in the eastern half of Pennsylvania and Maryland. DC, you are included in this, as well as a little bit of New York, so beware of that. We do have a large 5% that is in effect for New Mexico, and this whole area that I'm circling. So almost a third of the country will be impacted by some type of excessive rainfall, but it might not be necessarily flooding. It's going to be some type of rainfall. Day two, our biggest threat is going to be really up here in the very northeastern parts of the United States. A little bit of upstate New York, Vermont, and a little bit of northern New Hampshire, and a little bit of Maine. We could be seeing a slight risk of flooding. Day three, we aren't seeing much of a flash flooding risk for really any of these areas. Now, already when I'm about to be making this video, we do have some line of storms that are moving through Iowa and Minnesota. We did have a couple of tornado warnings while I was making this and a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. However, the prominent threat we're going to remember up here is really going to be the winds and the tornado threat. And as that moves through Iowa, a little bit of Nebraska, Missouri, into Minnesota and Wisconsin, that's going to be moving through into late evening tonight, and those line of storms will stay very dominant over a couple of hours. And, we could be seeing lots of incredibly dangerous straight line winds out of this, especially when we go into Iowa and Missouri. And then as they kind of move throughout the middle of night, we can see that those storms do continue to stay this way as we go through Missouri. Even it goes to Illinois for a little bit of portions, but as we go through the midnight, those storms will die down. But we can have some rain and a couple of severe weather possibly happen in Michigan, even up into Canada, especially Ottawa as well. I do want to go over the current drought that we've been experiencing across the United States, because after those heat waves, especially on the East Coast, we're going to start experiencing with droughts. Now, already down here in Colorado, New Mexico, into Nevada, this is the drought that we typically see over here. However, in places in like the central U.S. towards the Great Lakes region, over here specifically, we are currently experiencing some drought. Especially in Nebraska too, wherever you see this orange piling up. That is severe droughts. That's typically the drought that we start to see some problems with, like like reservoirs running out of water, or having to use reservoirs to feed the population of the city with the water. A little bit over here into like New York, for example, even over here in Cape Cod, Boston, out here in Baltimore, we are seeing some areas that are starting to develop some drought along the East Coast here. So this could turn into a very big problem, especially even Florida too, where we could see we do have some extreme drought as well that is happening across Florida. In the East Coast especially, most of us are going to be finally done with at least 100-degree temperatures, because we've been dealing with those forever now, and we need to be done with those. So, but as we move on throughout today into tomorrow, we could see that most areas that I could see on here are up to 94 degrees. So that is luckily good overall, that we're seeing no longer 100-degree temperatures, because heat stroke and heat exhaustion have been a problem along the East Coast for almost a week now. So as we've been dealing with that heat, at least it is going to start dying down some. And also, by the way, I am using real temperatures. The heat index, you could be seeing that today. Areas over here in Virginia were up to 110, Virginia, Maryland specifically. But then as we move on into tomorrow, some of those prominent areas in Virginia are only going to be up to 105, hopefully. And then as we even continue as well into, evening hours, those times we'll finally done with 100-degree heat index temperatures, which is the next step that we need to be taking. Going over total precipitation for the next 30 or so hours, you can see that over here in the Midwest, we're going to be dominant with that rain. Over here in Wisconsin and Minnesota areas, we could be seeing rain up to 3 inches. Over here, a large swath of 1 to 3 inches are very possible. Mid-Atlantic is probably going to be scattered with these rain showers. So some areas could see no rain. Some areas could see up to an inch or two of rain. Over here in Missouri and Oklahoma for the plains, you probably will see, some areas reaching another 1 to 3 inches again, as those line of storms will be moving through. New Mexico, we don't see much of a problem with rain, as that stuff is now going to be done. However, some areas can reach up to an inch or two as well. All right, and that's going to be it for the weather talk today. So if you guys like to see another Hunt Weather video, make sure you guys like and subscribe. And make sure you have those notifications on for our current updates or update videos that I make. Make sure you subscribe to join the Hunt Weather family so we can at least grow. And I'll see you guys the next one. Goodbye.